The ceramic coffee mug shattered against the brick wall just inches from Omar's head, the hot liquid spraying his cheek like a flashbang of scalding insults. He instinctively ducked, his heart hammering against his ribs as he scrambled to put distance between himself and the man who had just thrown it. The man, a thick-necked brute with a face flushed crimson, was now advancing, his other hand clenching a fist. "Go back to your own country," he bellowed, the words thick with the stench of cheap whiskey and hate. "We don't want your kind here." Omar's mind raced. He had been so focused on the intricate circuitry of the broken coffee machine he was trying to fix, so lost in the quiet satisfaction of his work, that he hadn't even noticed the man until the first slur was launched. Now he was trapped in the narrow alley behind the diner, his toolbox a flimsy shield. He gripped a wrench, not as a weapon, but as a silent prayer, a piece of his craft he hoped would protect him. He had to be smart, not aggressive. He had seen this before, the way a situation could escalate from a verbal attack to a physical one in the span of a single breath. Just as the man lunged, a flash of red caught Omar's eye. It was the fire alarm lever on the back wall of the diner. A desperate last-ditch plan formed in his mind. He dodged to the left, feigning a trip, and then, with a burst of speed he didn't know he had, he lunged past his attacker, his hand reaching for the lever. The man roared in frustration, stumbling as he tried to correct his momentum. Omar's fingers curled around the metal, and he yanked it down with all his might. The piercing shriek of the alarm siren split the air, a deafening call for help that seemed to shock the man into a stunned silence. For a moment, they both stood frozen, the wail of the alarm the only sound in the tense quiet. Then, the diner door burst open, and a young waitress with wide, frightened eyes peered out. Seeing the scene, she immediately pulled out her phone. The attacker, his moment of advantage lost, glared at Omar with a final venomous look before turning and disappearing down the alley, the echo of the alarm following him. Omar, his body shaking, leaned against the wall, the scent of burnt coffee and fear clinging to him. He was safe for now, but the mug's shards on the ground were a stark reminder that some things, once broken, can never be fully put back together. Omar's story began long before that alleyway confrontation. He was a second-generation immigrant, born and raised in this very city. His father, a skilled electrician, had taught him the trade, instilling in him a deep love for the methodical work of fixing things. He saw the world in circuits and currents, in the satisfying click of a switch and the hum of a repaired motor. His home was a place of warmth and the scent of his mother's cooking, a blend of spices that spoke of a heritage he was proud of. He was Omar, a Muslim, a son, a brother, and a skilled tradesman. But the world outside his home often saw him through a different lens. As he grew up, he noticed the subtle shifts in how people treated him. It started with small things, the way some teachers would eye him suspiciously when he spoke Arabic to his parents on the phone, the casual "where are you really from" classmates, the jokes about terrorists that would suddenly go quiet when he entered a room. He learned to brush him off, to wear a smile and offer a polite explanation, but each interaction left a small, invisible scar. When he started his own electrical repair business, he was full of hope. He had a solid work ethic, a growing list of satisfied clients, and a reputation for being reliable and fair. Yet, he still had to contend with the prejudice that followed him like a shadow. He'd walk into a new client's home and see them stiffen slightly, their eyes darting to his beard or the kufi he sometimes wore on his head. Sometimes, clients would cancel appointments after seeing his name on the business card. "We've decided to go with someone else," they would say, the lie hanging in the air. He found solace in his faith and in his community. The mosque was a sanctuary, a place where he was just Omar, a fellow worshiper, a friend. He joined the local interfaith dialogue group, hoping that by sharing his story, he could help others see the humanity behind the headlines. He spoke about his life, his family, his dreams, and his fears. He made friends with people of different backgrounds, learning to navigate the tricky conversations and to build bridges where others had erected walls. But even within this supportive environment, the weight of the world's prejudice could feel crushing. The news was a constant reminder of the hate and violence directed at Muslims around the globe. He felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a deep-seated weariness. He wanted to shout from the rooftops that he was just a man trying to make a living, a neighbor who would offer help without hesitation, a person with hopes and fears just like everyone else. But he knew that a single voice could only carry so far against the roar of ignorance. The incident in the alleyway was a breaking point. It wasn't the first time he had been targeted, but the raw, unbridled hatred in the man's eyes, the physical threat, felt different. It brought home the terrifying reality that his safety was not guaranteed, that his life could be at risk simply for being who he was. In the days that followed, Omar felt a profound shift within himself. The fear lingered, but it was now tinged with a steely resolve. He decided he would no longer simply endure the prejudice, he would actively fight back, not with violence, but with his own story and his actions. He knew that the fight against racism was a long and difficult one, but he was no longer willing to stand on the sidelines. He went to the police and filed a report, knowing it might not lead to an arrest, but that it was important to document the hate crime. He spoke to his interfaith group about the incident, not to be a victim, but to show them the real-world consequences of hate. He shared his experience on social media, using his platform to talk about the dangers of Islamophobia and to call for greater understanding. He was met with a mix of support and vitriol, but he did not back down. One day, a young man reached out to him after seeing his post. He was a student, and he confessed that he had held negative stereotypes about Muslims, but Omar's story had made him reconsider his views. He asked if he could volunteer with Omar's business, to learn the trade and to learn from him. Omar, surprised but moved, agreed. They started working together, the young man's questions giving Omar a chance to share his faith and culture in a way that felt natural and honest. Omar's life wasn't suddenly perfect. He still had to deal with the occasional rude comment or suspicious glance. But he was no longer alone in his struggle. He had his community, his new apprentice, and a newfound sense of purpose. He was no longer just a victim of a hate crime. He was a survivor, a teacher, and an advocate. He learned that while he couldn't control the actions of others, he could control his own response. He chose resilience over despair, and in doing so, he found a strength he never knew he had. The broken shards of the coffee mug in the alley were a reminder of the darkness, but the new connections he was forging, the bridges he was building, were a testament to the light. He knew his story was just one of many, but he hoped that by sharing it, he could help others see the person behind the prejudice, and in doing so, help to mend a world that felt, at times, so utterly broken.